Good afternoon and welcome back to the Celtic Way. Celtic 1, St Mirren 1, the live full-time reaction show as James Forrest continues his incredible streak. I'm Tony Haggerty at Haggerty10 on the X and Twitter handle. I'm joined by a roasting hot Ryan McGinley outside Celtic Park at the Ryan McGinley on the X and Twitter handle. Ryan, how are you, sir?
Things are good, yeah. A little bit tired after being in that heat. Even though I was in the shade at Celtic Park, you certainly still do feel the heat coming through. Bit of a turgid 93 minutes. Then the 94th minute came around and James Forrest. Who else was it going to be, Tony? It was a fairy tale moment, a fairy tale career and a fairy tale season for the club and James Forrest. So, yeah, delighted. I was delighted that I was there and I could be a part of that as well. You'll see a video going about on our social media platforms of what it felt like in the ground in the stadium. It was just sheer bedlam. It was as if the Celtic support awoke from their slumber after a really turgid 93 odd minutes. But yeah, didn't lose today. They got a draw. I think St Mirren will be quite happy with their draw. They might be a little bit disappointed that they didn't win the game because they put in a lot of defensive effort. Good goal from Ayunga, but I think a draw, given the chances that Celtic squandered, probably a fair result in the end.
Yep, turgid trophy day. We'll talk about James Forrest in a minute, but firstly, the Celtic Way is brought to you by S1 Jobs. If it's time to hand in your transfer request, then head over to s1jobs.com and upload your CV today. With thousands of jobs across Glasgow and Edinburgh and surrounding areas, you'll find the one at S1 Jobs. Start your search today, and we say thank you to S1 Jobs for their sponsorship of the Celtic Way morning briefings and the pre and post match live briefings. Ryan, you said it, turgid trophy day, not the way Celtic wanted to pull the curtain down on the 2024-25 season, but worth it for the James Forrest moment of magic. The evergreen James Forrest, Ryan, and I'll put it to you, James Forrest can start next week, can't he?
He's definitely put himself in the running to start. I know Rodgers was talking about sentimentality and how he doesn't bring sentimentality into his decisions. I don't think it would be a sentimental decision to play James Forrest next week. I think you give it to the form man. Look at the past two games that he's played for Celtic. He set up a couple of goals in midweek against Aberdeen, and then he scored today. He scored a magnificent goal against St Mirren right at the death. That moment with the crowd, the decibel levels just went up. It was quiet. It felt as if the game was fading. There's a couple of chances beforehand from the likes of Jeffrey Schlupp and Johnny Kenny. So it showed you the subs were wanting to make things happen coming off the bench. But it just had to be the homegrown hero, the Celtic legend, James Forrest. The club's most decorated player. Another trophy to his name and another record to his name as well. He's sweet 16. And I think that'll be one of his sweetest goals yet for Celtic. And here's to many more.
There are magical moments in Celtic's history, Ryan. Many of them. And that's going to go down as one of them, isn't it? As you say, it's an unforgettable trophy day. But it's like it's all premised on that moment, isn't it? And I think Rodgers at one point said it in one of his interviews with Sky. He said it was written in the stars. He just felt something magical was going to happen when James Forrest came on and started doing his stuff. Des Harkin coming in, he called it. James was saving his goal for the big day. Legend. I can only agree with that, Des, and echo that sentiment. But it was just big players picked big moments, Ryan, and wasn't an easy chance, but he buried it and spared Celtic's blushes on as you say, a trophy day that was turgid and was petering out into nothing. But you just said the decibel level was great, and there'll be a video doing the rounds. So, again, another one of those wonderful Celtic moments. And as the manager said, this is how it feels to be Celtic.
Yeah, and it's one of those games that won't be forgotten about now because of that goal that was scored. Yeah. And that going into the game next week, potentially James Forrest might have been on the bench for that game. I think he's got to start now. I completely agree with you. He's the form man. He's got the yellow jersey or green and white jersey, whatever you want to call. I think he will be in that starting lineup for next week, just for what he brings. He's not the fastest anymore, although he did show his speed during the week against Graham Shinnie at Aberdeen, at Pittodrie. But I think he's changed his game. He's morphed his game. His football intelligence is far better than what it was 10 years ago. I remember watching him 10 years ago and sometimes we'd make the wrong decision. That's becoming fewer and fewer with James Forrest. He understands when to make runs, when to take shots. He wasn't forcing it today either. He was trying to make things happen for his team. There was a shot that he put over the bar in the second half, which was near, but it was in the right area, but it just went over the bar. Got his moment, and I think he put the ball through the middle, through the keeper's legs as well for the goal. It was a perfect moment, bedlam celebrations, and it was one of those unforgettable moments in what has been another unforgettable season for Celtic. And hopefully they can add another trophy next week to make it even more of an unforgettable season.
CJ7 coming in. Billy McNeil once said that Celtic was a club of fairy tales. Yes, he did say that. He said there was a fairy tale about this club when Celtic won the League and Cup double in the centenary season, and today just proved it again with that James Forrest goal. Exactly. You couldn't have written that script any better, to be honest, Ryan. And it's the only thing that was going to salvage today, wasn't it? They're losing 1-0, trophy day, the season's petering out. It's not the way you want to end it. He's the only player that could have scored that made it feel like a win and a memorable day. If anyone else scores that equaliser, it's like you shrug the shoulders, don't you? But James Forrest did it. And Ryan, here's a stat for you. You might have heard this, but he becomes the first player to score in 16 consecutive seasons since the legend that is Paul the Maestro McStay. That's not bad. That's he's keeping exalted company there, is he not?
2 players that have came through the Celtic Academy as well. So it shows that these homegrown heroes, they do tend to stick about. Maybe less and less nowadays, just due to the way that modern football is. But these records, you find more often than not that Celtic have created their own, and in turn, those players have served the club so faithfully that they go and break records as well. And you've got the likes of Bobby Lennox, you've got James Forrest, got Cal McGregor in a couple of years who'll be looking to break James Forrest's record as the most decorated Celtic player. You'd think that it's a bit of a weird one for James Forrest, and you would never want to call him a placeholder, but you think in a couple of years' time that Cal McGregor will overtake him. That is if James Forrest and Cal McGregor both stick around for that amount of time. But either way, they've both been so tremendous in their Celtic careers, and success has followed them in every step of the way. They're legends of the club, legends by the way that they play on the park and by the trophies that they lift off the park as well. So I was delighted to see that they get more adulation today. I feel like James Forrest got the adulation that he deserved today, not just, but I mean everything that he did today. He came onto the park. It was the biggest cheer of the day up until his goal was James Forrest coming onto the park, and then he bettered that by scoring in the last minute of the game. So it was a really good day.
And I believe Bobby Lennox's family were also in the stand today as well. So that was
absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, just full of nice touches like that. But I mean, we're not labouring the point about James Forrest's goal. We are trying to. It is an unforgettable 90 minutes, isn't it? Because not much happened. No, Adam
a forgettable 90 minutes.
Did I say unforgettable? Aye.
Yes.
Yes, a forgettable 90 minutes. Yes, indeed. Adam Ida hardly touched the ball. Nicholas Kuhn hardly touched the ball. Starred of any decent service. So, and there wasn't much to shout about, certainly in the first half. But when the subs came on, there was more by way of attack. Celtic, Dyson Maida's missed an absolute sitter. We spoke off here, and you said Maida's reverted to type because that was a sitter, and easier to miss than to score. Somehow he's contrived to miss it.
Yeah, it was just over the bar, and you're thinking that he's just going to put it in the back of the net. He's formed this season, even with his head this season. You'd put your money on Dyson Maeda to score that goal, but it felt like it was going to be one of those days where Celtic were just not going to hit the back of the net. Yes, there would still be the celebrations at full time with the trophy, but doing that on the back of a defeat, it always stings. It doesn't necessarily take away, but it does. It's still in the back of your head. You celebrate in front of the supporters, but you want to be doing it with a win. The next best thing's a draw. And, it's quite weird because Lewis Palmer scored that goal last year to make it 3-2 against St Mirren. There's probably more people celebrating James Forrest's equaliser than they were for that Lewis Palmer goal last year, just due to the person and the player and the legend that scored that goal this afternoon. But just a really fitting end. And I think that also takes the pressure off of James Forrest heading into next week. I think he will start next week off the back of that performance. But if he was going into that game and he hadn't scored yet, I think that would be another layer of the storyline to go through. The fact that James Forrest hadn't broke his duck for the season, he can go into that game, yes, still feeling pressure that it's a cup final and he wants to be delivering a treble for Celtic, but he can go in there knowing that he's broke his goal scoring duck this season and he doesn't have that hanging over his shoulder and hanging over his head. So, yeah, I think he'll go in there as a bit of a free spirit. Not that I think it was holding him back anyway, but I think he'll feel even less pressure going into that game. It's just another day at Hampden for him.
Yes, and he's a bit of a Hampden specialist, Ryan. He scored many
Hampden
goals.
hero.
Yeah, cup finals as well. So, I mean, I would never dream of telling the manager, Brendan Rodgers, who to pick, but he's certainly put himself into contention, hasn't he? Let's put it that way.
He's not the only one, Tony, and I'm gonna talk about somebody who may go under the radar for his contributions, given the fact that on the opposite side, and you know that who I'm going to speak about here. But I thought Yang was tremendous when he came on. I thought he looked really, really positive in everything that he was doing. He seemed to know that he was better than the opposition and he was going to run past the opposition. Not everything came off for him and he did go central and sometimes the ball would maybe not fall his way, but he was making things happen. And in a turgid second half where I was looking up to my right-hand side and looking at the clock and it was 50, then it was 60, then it was 70 minutes and there was no breakthrough for Celtic. I thought that Yang was actually making things happen, but he wasn't the only one. I think Johnny Kenny made a difference when he came on. He forced that double save from Zach Kemen, a good double save. Those were the sort of big chances that Celtic had prior to the goal. I think that was just after Maeda's header as well, because he then went through the middle when Maeda came off the pitch. Disappointing that Maeda doesn't finish as the top goal scorer in the league, but you know he'll still get all the adulation for the Player of the Year awards that he's got from not just his performances through the middle, but on the left-hand side too. And he seemed to be enjoying his Tequila Maeda song at the end of the game as well, so that was good to see.
Yeah. Hazel Finnegan was saying Yang looked good again, and she said that he'll be even better once he gets a full pre-season under his belt. But yeah, I mean, the two wingers certainly changed the direction of the traffic, didn't they? You know, St Mirren's goal is just a hopeful ball in, and it's a ricochet. I think it actually comes off Paulo Bernardo's foot, the sole of his boot, which actually takes it away from Schmeichel. Because he might have been getting there, but slight nick.
I've got to be honest, I didn't see the deflection. I've only seen the goal once in real time. I'm not going to go back and watch a St Mirren goal, to be honest with you, especially on a trophy day like today was. But from where I was, I'll need to watch it again. I thought it was just a good shot from Jonah Junge that managed to better Kasper Schmeichel. Did get enough power on it to beat the goalkeeper, but that was the only thing that Kasper Schmeichel had come his way. You know, apart from that, there was nothing. It was a game of precious few chances. Apart from that goal, and then James Forrest's winner right at the end. But it was a largely forgettable event on Trophy Day, but it was made. It was almost as if the patience of the Celtic support that came in the flocks today was rewarded with that James Forrest goal. Just a euphoric moment. I know we've been speaking about it for the majority of this show, but it really is the main event. It's the climaxing moment. It was the reason to go. It was worth the price of admission. Any sort of trope that you want to throw out there, that's how I would describe James Forrest goals. You know, in a game, football is becoming, and I've made this point before, football is becoming more mechanical by the day. A lot of the heart and soul of football gets ripped out. So to see somebody that scored in 16 consecutive seasons, a guy that came through the academy as a youth player, score a goal like that in the 93rd, 94th minute, it is what dreams are made of in fairy tales, and it shows that these sort of storylines can happen in football, and I was delighted to see that. If there was one goal scorer, and I think I'm not the only one that thinks this, if there was one goal scorer today that everybody would want, it'd be James Forrest, and we all got that. So I think he sent the crowd home happy with that goal.
Now, Ryan, it's all about next week, isn't it? Celtic going for their 6th treble in 9 seasons, and also the 9th treble in the club's history. It has to be infinitely better than that, doesn't it?
It does, yes, but I think they're playing against opponents that are struggling themselves in terms of form. I realise that I just had a wee look at the league table at the end of proceedings today, and Aberdeen have somehow managed to finish 5th place, and it was down to the goals that they conceded against Celtic that were probably the difference between them finishing 4th and 5th today. Obviously, they get beat against Dundee United, but it was the magnitude of goals that they scored against, or that they conceded against Celtic at Pittodrie on Wednesday that was one of the big key factors in them finishing 5th. No, been a very topsy-turvy season for Celtic's opponents next week. I think Celtic will turn it on next week. We'll see what Aberdeen have got to bring to the party and bring to the table. But I think it'll be an infinitely better performance than what we've seen today. We were talking about how many goals Celtic were going to score pre-match. That didn't necessarily happen, but the main thing is no injuries as far as we know. And now we move on to next week, and all focus will be on that Scottish Cup final and getting the job done. The job's not finished. A treble is required, and that's got to be the focus from now until next Saturday.
The manager made that point when he addressed to the fans. They've won the title, but there's still one more title to go, i.e. the Scottish Cup, Ryan, and the focus starts now. Okay, they can maybe celebrate tonight, but come tomorrow, come Monday, game head on, and he'll be disappointed, Ryan, that they never went to work today. We were talking about that pre-match, that the actual game is when they go to work, and Celtic didn't really go to work today. There was a lethargy about them, a bit of a lacklustre, call it what you like. There was something lacking today, but got the big moment with Forrest equaliser right at the death, as you say. But it'll have to be better, and I'm sure it will be better next week. They'll be focused, fully focused. As you can see, young Ryan's having problems there with interlopers to the pod. Hopefully he'll come back in. Failing that, we shall wrap it up. But I'm hoping that Ryan comes back. There he is. Are you back with us, sir? Are you back in the room?
I've muted myself as well. That just goes to show you the efforts that you take and the measures that you take to stop some rogue shouts coming into play. But I think people are just in a party mood, regardless of the result. The fact that Celtic dropped points didn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things, because Rangers dropped points at Hibernian as well, so the gap will remain 17 points. That's the final total between the two. I believe it's 17 points between Celtic and Rangers. So it's all about a party atmosphere, regardless of what people are doing, whether they're going to the Tron Gate, whether they're celebrating at home. You've got to enjoy these moments. Celtic are the champions. They've worked hard for this season, and they can celebrate tonight. The players will probably celebrate amongst themselves, but they'll be back in next week with the one goal of completing the treble. These trebles, as much as the word tedious has been thrown about in the past couple of weeks, it should never be tedious for the players, to do a clean sweep of Scottish football. And there's some players that haven't even managed that yet, the likes of Adam Ida, Arne Engels, Paulo Bernardo as well. All of these players want to feel that. Luke McCowan. So that's got to be the focus for these players. Go out and make some history for yourselves. That's the standard. Brendan Rodgers deals in trebles. This is what he does. It's up to him to make sure he gets a treble in both spells as Celtic manager. It's only Aberdeen and Jimmy Tilleen's side that stand in their way of achieving that.
And a one-off performance, Celtic dropped their standards today, Ryan, but like you, I think they'll be pedal to the metal next week. I think Celtic will turn up, and I think they can achieve a domestic clean sweep in some style. We'll give our predictions, score-wise and otherwise, next week, but
I think we'll be barred from the predictions, Tony, after a performance pre-match.
I can't see past Celtic though, Ryan, I have to say. And I know they'll have their game head switched on, and you can allow the odd bad day at the office, can't you? Especially on a day like today. They didn't get beat. Granted, the fare that was served up wasn't the best, but I still think they'll be on their A game next week, Ryan, and I can only see one winner.
Yeah, obviously we're a little bit biased in that notion, but you look at the two sides, the way that they're going into this final. I mean, you've only got the last game to look at, although I wouldn't look at that too much because of the changes that were made for Celtic. But over the course of this season, Celtic have had the better of Aberdeen in the majority of the occasions that they've played against them. A couple of really thumping results against their opponents. It's got to be the aim. Go to Hampden, go to a place that you're familiar with. Aberdeen are familiar with Hampden as well. We're also familiar with playing against Celtic at Hampden. Look at what happened in October, November time last year. Celtic absolutely crushed them at Hampden. Daisen Maeda ran riot, and that was really the start of his Player of the Year nominee selection. I think that was the start. That's when he became a nominee, when he ran riot at Hampden against Aberdeen. But coming into it in a different focus, Jimmy Tilleen will be looking for something from this season. Yes, they've managed to get European football just about, but for a team that were forecast to finish third, maybe even second at one point of the season, to finish fifth, they'll be feeling pretty pretty disappointed with how their season's ended, especially with the amount of money that they've spent on players. But that's their problem. Celtic have got to turn up and do the business. If they go and do the business and play the way that we know that they can play, then I think there'll be only one winner on the day. It's just that they get better players than Aberdeen, and if they show that quality that we know that they've got in them and that they possess, then I think there'll only be one winner. But they've got to have the right attitude, the right temperament, and I'm sure that Brendan Rodgers will drill that into them and hammer home the point that they have to be right for this game or they'll lose. As simple as that. They've got to be right. They've got to be ready. Aberdeen will be ready. I think Celtic will be ready too.
Yeah. A word about Celtic's opponents today, Ryan, who took it down to the wire in terms of their quest for Europe and a dogged, determined performance. And at one point, they had 1 foot in the European spot because of Dundee United were losing. So I have to give them credit. And I know it might not be joyful to watch, but Stephen Robinson's teams, they can do a number on you because they're just dogged and they're determined, and they kind of strangled the life out of you, and then they took their only chance when it came.
He's one of those managers that I admire from afar. I wouldn't want him in charge of Celtic due to the way that he plays football and maybe not the agricultural style, but he uses his resources and uses them to the best of their ability. But to be fair to them, this season they have been playing some good football as well. So that myth is getting quashed. I did watch a passage of play that they carried out at one point in the season, and it was really nice one-touch football. So they've got that. It was a really good finish from the Jonah Junga as well. Robinson, I think he's a St Mirren manager, but I think that he'll have his eyes set on bigger things, bigger and better things. I seen that he was linked with the Huddersfield job recently. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes down south and gets a job there, or maybe even one of the teams looking mid-season in the Scottish Premiership. But he's done a great job with the Buddies. St Mirren have had another great season. To steer them to top 6, given some of the sides that are in the bottom 6, is really well done. So congratulations to him and his side, and unlucky that they didn't win the game today. If it wasn't for
divine intervention,
ripping up the script and writing his own fairy tale script.
Yes, indeed. Well, I think we shall reconvene on Monday. A combination of Hamish and and other will be around to talk. But as I say, today was all about the trophy lift. Ryan, wasn't the great game. It won't be filed under the memorable category, but one moment will be. That's an uplifting moment for every Celtic fan and kind of every neutral in Scottish football. James Forrest pops up with a 94th minute goal, Ryan, to make it 1 each and scores for the 16th consecutive season, emulating Paul McStay and just capping off the fairy tale that is James Forrest's season, being Celtic's most decorated player, as you say, for the time being.
Yep. The streak continues for James Forrest. Yeah. The streak continues.
As the headline says, James Forrest, incredible streak continues. And fair play to him and well done, because, you speak to any of the Celtic players, they'll say there's not a more humble guy in the dressing room who's deserving of the accolades and all the awards that follow and the praise that he gets. So good luck to him. If you're going out tonight and celebrating, celebrate responsibly. Enjoy it. Enjoy the moments, as you say, or maybe keep your powder dry until next week, Ryan, when hopefully Celtic may be on the cusp of the verge of another treble. That would be their 6th and 9th seasons, and their 9th overall. That would be wonderful. But can't wait for that. All roads lead to Hampden, Ryan. Bring it on.
As the late great Kobe Bryant said, the job's not finished. The job's not finished. The job's not finished. One more thing to do.
Yeah. 2 out of 3 ain't bad, but we want 3 out of 3, Ryan. We want the clean sweep.
Absolutely. That's got to be the aim. It's got to be the focus. And it will be the focus going into next week.
Indeed. Right, we'll wrap it up there. We'll let Ryan get out of the searing heat, back to some air conditioning in the car or wherever he's headed. But guys, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed today. It was worth it for James Forrest. Moment of magic, wasn't it? Hey, there is a fairy tale about this club, as a famous man once said. You've just witnessed another one today. Long may they continue as well. Take care. Enjoy your weekend. Ryan, thank you very much for another stellar contribution.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy your night.